My name is Eileen Lawless, and I work as the Dependent Care Advisor at Life and Work Connections. My responsibility is to work along with a great group of people. We're all devoted towards helping our staff and faculty work towards work-in-life balance or integration. And what I do is I help and support those who are caregivers of adults 18 years of age right to end of life. My background has been in healthcare. I've worked in hospice, nursing home, and assisted living situations for well over 21 years. I've worked locally, I've worked regionally. In addition to all aspects of quality of life and quality of care, I would say my specialty has emerged as memory care and behavioral care. And it's been an honor doing that work, but more so, I've been with the University of Arizona for about 1 year. And it's a different type of work, but it's been very, very exciting, very rewarding, and very honoring, if that's a word. One of the things I find, no matter who I come into contact with at the University of Arizona, is our incredible work ethic. We are hard workers. We are devoted to our community at the University of Arizona. And one of the things I've been finding is that we are having, along with physical distancing, some issues relating to productivity. For some of us, we're doing fine. For others, it might be more of a challenge. So we're going to talk about that today. And so when we are talking about redefining productivity in the workplace, what I'd like to do today is talk a little bit about the definition of productivity, as well as the culture of productivity and how that relates to what we're contending with right now with physical distancing. We're also going to talk about remote life and work and life perspectives in the remote workplace and how that's affecting things. My esteemed coworker, Lourdes Rodriguez, who basically is a senior coordinator of children and family resources at the University of Arizona and at Life and Work Connections, did a presentation on how we're all under the same roof. So we talk about life and work integration and balance, but we're finding that we have to do life, work, and home integration with physical distancing, and that affects our productivity. We're also going to be talking about some mindful approaches towards productivity as we work with what we have now and as we move into the future. So productivity can be defined as a measure of efficiency of a person or a team to work to complete a task in a specific period of time. Now, productivity requires consistency, and it requires the ability to get things done. And we all feel that what we have to get done is very, very important. So we want to make sure that we do that. So just getting that task completed. When doing research about productivity, one of the things that I found is that productivity requires a balance of time, energy, and attention. So when I was driving home with my computer in tow, going to work at home, I thought to myself, wow, I have all this additional time on my hands. Therefore, I'm going to be able to, get my work done, change the world with my work. I'm going to be able to start a garden, redo the cabinets, do all these wonderful things, be all to my family and to the world and my community. But one of the things I found about productivity is that when you have attention, when you're giving attention to things, it requires time. There's a very close relationship to that. So now we find that not only do we have to pay attention to our work, but we have to pay attention to our family, and we have to pay attention to our lives and those that we love. So it's taking more time than we expected. So our time effectiveness is being challenged. Now, we also find along with that, productivity also is a balance of energy. It's physical energy. It's emotional energy. And we've had the honor of having Tanya and Bob and Jim talk about how we can identify with those emotions that we're contending with physical distancing, and how that's affecting how we can move on in our life, how we can pause and pivot, how we can be mindful, how we can be resilient. But it's presenting a challenge in balancing those things. Our world has changed a great deal, and we know that. It's almost as if we've got this tilt. You know, we've got a tilt to physical distancing, how we live our lives now, and how we have this work and life balance and with productivity. So now we have a tilt to how we're living our lives, and with work, how we're building, how we're learning, and how we're connecting with our team members, and how we're collaborating. So when you look at research about productivity, we have to think about how we rewire. So we have to rewire not only cognitively, but we have to rewire emotionally. We have to rethink. We have to redefine productivity. And with that, we also have to reorganize. So a lot of times what's happening is we often think that because of this shift, we're not doing things right. We have this incredible work ethic. We're very dedicated, but for some reason, for some of us, not all of us, we may be getting down on ourselves for not producing the goals in the amount of time that we wish to do. Now, if we look at working in the remote workplace prior to physical distancing, there are some components that make the remote workplace ideal. So the first is your choice. You make the choice of working remotely or in an office. And that allows you to get your work done, depending upon what that work is. In the real world, and what we're dealing with physical distancing, is the fact that we didn't really have that choice, and the transition was very fast, very quick. So that created a challenge to the remote workplace. Now, the other thing that comes up is our family needs. Okay, so usually you work remotely, our children still go to school, our children still go to daycare. But right now, not only are we being physically distanced, but our loved ones, including our children, have to work at home as well. And we have to be there to provide that support to them. Not only that, but we have to look out for our loved ones. I come from a background of caregiving. Everyone in physical distancing is a caregiver right now. So we're looking out for our parents, our children, our members of our community, making sure that they're healthy and that they're secure. Another component to the remote workplace is space. We have to make sure that we have a proper home office to have that ideal situation. Not a bedroom, making sure that that door is closed, that there's no interruptions or anything like that. And I don't know about you, but right now, my home office is my dining room table. And I have a teenage daughter who is a junior in high school, and I have a daughter who is at her second year at the U of A, and they work about 6 feet away from me. So making sure that you have those opportunities for privacy, to make sure that the momentum of work continues, can be a challenge. The last thing is collaboration. Now, physical distancing has created that challenge. Usually, in the ideal remote office situation, we would be able to work at the home office, but maybe come in 1 day a week and be able to see, interact, work with other individuals, collaborate on goals, and get things done. We don't quite have that. And right now, we're working with technology. We understand the fact that we don't have that initial eye contact, but we're getting very creative with trying to make sure that we're collaborating and that we're innovating. So we mentioned before, we're hard workers. We have an incredible work ethic. But sometimes with that work ethic comes a lot of pressure. So I want to look at, if you look at the chart to the left-hand side, these were some of the things that we might have been dealing with even before physical distancing. Focusing on overachievement, self-improvement, which is okay, you know, optimizing on every moment. And when you try to optimize on every moment, we tend to multitask. Our boundaries get a little gray. Perhaps what we're doing is taking phone calls or emails away from work hours or on the weekends. In other words, we're always on. And when we're doing that, we're judging ourselves and we're judging other people. So now we look at physical distancing. So if we go to the right of the chart, what we tend to think about, what we initially think about is if we have additional time, then we should be doing additional work. So we're not thinking about the fact that our attention is going towards our family, is going towards our lives along with work. So I have been hearing people having a hard time taking breaks, maybe working extra hours. And those are things that we need to be aware of and redefine that time element. What's also happening is, because if we can't get those goals done in time that we were able to do before, we're getting down on ourselves. And we have that needless comparing of ourselves against other people. Sometimes you'll get that call from that person who says, yes, I'm getting all this work done and I have all this done and I'm 3 weeks ahead of time. But this is the thing. Our journeys are all different. Our work is different. Our goals are different. We know that we're doing the best we can, and we have to keep thinking that as we go along. So with all of this, what we need to be careful about is placing stress on ourselves in a very stressful time. One of the things I tell caregivers, you are not alone. And I'm also letting you know too. Now, again, you may not have an issue with productivity in the workplace, but if you are, those feelings of sadness, those emotions that are coming up, that getting down on yourself, you're not alone with that. We just need to do a couple of things to make sure that we're going to be able to address that. So 4 steps to thinking about productivity: push, pull, rock and roll. Okay. The first thing is we're going to push. I want you to push away things, the negative stuff, the unnecessary noise, those postings on social media talking about how everyone is baking a homemade cake, refixing their cabinets, getting all their work done in one day. Okay. That's them. Your journey is your own. Please, if you start saying should, look out for that. Make sure that you are not being unrealistic about your expectations, and look out for those unwarranted boundaries. Get your work done in the time element that you can get it done. Find that balance. We know that you have to work with your kids, but we'll figure this out as we go along. Also, pace yourself. Try not to be in such an incredible hurry. Just make sure that you're doing things at the pace that works best for you. One of the things we need to do is pause and breathe, and then take the necessary steps. Pull in. So we push, now we're going to pull in the good stuff. All right. We're going to pull in, reflect on the achievements that we have made. They can be huge, they can be medium, they can be small. The fact that we're keeping ourselves and our loved ones safe, secure, and healthy is a good thing. The fact that we're dealing with things when our loved ones are not healthy is a good thing. We're doing the best we can with circumstances that we're being presented with. We need to see the value in what we do. We also need to make sure that we're caring for ourselves. Once again, my coworkers have been doing a wonderful job in talking about mindfulness, meditation, resilience. We need to make sure that we're using those opportunities to care for ourselves so we can care for those ones that we love. All right, now we're going to go on to rock and roll. When you rock, you're going to rock on. You're going to make sure that you're being a good team member, and that you're being a good member, and that you are being good to your managers, you're being good to yourselves. You need to make sure that you're checking in with your team, and you need to make sure that you are communicating with your team. If you have ideas about communication, share it, because we don't have that initial eye contact, and it's difficult. We have some challenges to collaboration. So let's keep thinking about those creative ideas. Rock on with your work. We know that there are times as we've been working that we might be a little bit more efficient than others. So we're going to focus in on those. We're going to do our work in handleable doses, which is going to be probably different from when we were at work. We want to make sure sometimes those who specialize in productivity talk about doing easier tasks first and then moving on to the more difficult ones as you go on to the day. Scheduling time. Now, sometimes if we have to do research, if we have to communicate, if we have to have meetings, it may be good to schedule time slots according to those things. So rather than going back and forth between those responsibilities that you have, try to focus on one thing first then the next, and then the next. So in other words, meeting times in the morning, research maybe in the afternoon, that type of thing. The next is we want to, a lot of productivity experts say to try to continue to focus on your long-term goals. And also we want to make sure that we're finding opportunities and talking about promoting attention and collaboration in getting those goals done. Last, rock and roll it out. Continue to keep going. Step forward, breathe, pivot when you need to, but focus on what you're doing and how well you're doing it. Focus on your work and how well you're doing it. Focus on your life and how well you're doing that as well. We've got this. We can do this. As we start to focus on the good things, as we put things into more handleable tasks and roles, we're going to be able, things are going to make a little bit more sense. We're going to be more adaptable to change. We're going to have new ideas that are going to emerge. We're going to have better faith in the process, and we're going to have better potential for productivity and at the same time wellness under our conditions now and as we move towards the future. So with that in mind, please feel free to connect with us at Life and Work Connections at lifework.arizona.edu. We have some wonderful YouTube videos about exactly what we're talking about today: mindfulness, meditation, resilience, proper health, how we can continue to take care of ourselves when we're tilted. You know, please feel free to reach out to us, ask us any questions. Let us be there to support you. I wish you a wonderful weekend, and I thank you for your time. Take care.